Arab armies fanned out in all directions. To the north and east, they defeated the armies of Byzantium and Persia, claiming Syria, Palestine, Iran, and Iraq for Islam. To the west, they conquered Egypt and swept across North Africa, reaching the Atlantic coast by the 680s. As the desert warriors defeated these great civilizations, they chose not to raze and destroy, but to learn and build upon what was already there. Some of the greatest Islamic architecture in the world was created less than 80 years after the Prophet's death.
The Qur'an is the initial detonation that launches one of the most extraordinary civilizational stories of human experience. Within 100 years, the barefoot warriors of Western Arabia were masters of a great, sophisticated, hugely prosperous civilization that stretched from the beaches of Morocco across to the gates of China. And really the force that produced that was this amazing, radioactive, glorious piece of thunder in their hands, which was the Word of God, the uncreated Word of God.
And when the tables were turned and successive waves of invaders from the east seized control of the Muslim world from the Arabs, they soon submitted to the faith of the people they had conquered. Fired by this glorious piece of thunder, each new dynasty saw astounding developments in architecture, science, and philosophy, while Europe remained mired in its feudal dark ages.
There's something which is very important in the Qur'an, which is asking the Muslim, go and just seek for knowledge, look for knowledge, try to understand. So go in the world and try to understand.
The ideas of the ancient Greeks and Romans might never have reached us had it not been for Islamic scholars and scientists who rediscovered, developed, and enriched them. And that stimulus came from the Qur'an, which in verse after verse calls upon mankind to examine the heavens and the earth, to reflect on creation, to look and look again. As early as the 9th century, Muslim scientists calculated the circumference of the earth, while medieval Europe hung grimly to the notion of a flat earth. Arabic numerals were developed from their Indian origins into the basis of a new arithmetic. Trigonometry, algebra, and geometry were wholly or largely Muslim inventions. Islamic medicine remained standard practice for 1,000 years. When Muslim society was in the ascendancy, the values of freedom and tolerance it took from the Quran encouraged persecuted Jews and dissident Christians to flee Europe and seek the protection of Islam. But when the Muslim world felt threatened, either by external enemies or internal disruption, the impulse was to close in and take a very different message from the Quran. In the minds of many Muslims, we are now living in such a time.